Hello, everybody, and welcome. Excellent. I think it's working. Oh, I think I'm clipping a little. The mic's a little too high too. I've been playing my audio levels looked a little high. There we go. Let me know how it sounds. Let me know if there's anybody out there. Welcome to a Binary Ninja live stream. I was literally running. Okay, good. My video is coming up on my phone. I can see that. I just got to see if. Nope, I don't want to hear myself. That's the worst. All right, now I can see chat. I guess I can see chat over there too. So cool. All right. Well, hopefully there's someone here. Let's see if I wait for somebody to chat, and then I know we're live for real. Hey Daniel, thank you. Man, this has been this stable. Oof. This was a lot of work. Did I not push? Oh no, hold on. I don't think I pushed. I'll be right back. Told you I was doing it live on stream. All right, let's see if let's see about this. I'm gonna bring my other machine in here just in case I need to do some shenanigans. The website should be updated. Is the blog not updated? Looks like the blog doesn't want to update. Oh, there we go. Okay, it just took a second. It probably happened as I was running in there. Yeah, there it is. Cool. Hey, Scott. Welcome. Yes, so new stable. Boy, oh boy. Oh, okay, there we go. Let's pull that up. Let's actually look at the changelog. So, 3.2 new stable release. This is, so if you go back and look at our past releases, I should really clean up all of my, way too many tabs here. I don't know what's going on with all this. But if you go back and look through our previous releases, like this is a big release. That was 3.1. There was lots of big stuff. Big release, like lots of big stuff here, right? 3.2 is kind of a minor release. It's just ridiculous list of improvements. Now these are the Windows and decompiler improvements are just categories. So technically it's just these 4, these 3, and then these down here. But there are a bonkers amount of changes. In fact, when we went looking through the changelog for this stable, there was a ton of stuff that landed. So here's the other way we can look at it. 240 issues closed just in the last period. So actually, I'm curious now. Let's go back and look at one of those other ones. So where's one of the? Do I have one of the other releases? Let's pull up, and I'm definitely gonna need the caffeine today. So how many do we have in 3.1? So 3.1 had 136. That was 136. Now 3.1 was only like about a 3-month window, so it was a shorter period between the last one. But and we had about 4 months on this one. But still, you'd only expect there to be like, maybe 200, less than that even, right? If you were scaling. So, this has been a wild and crazy one. We almost had one more thing didn't make it into this. We actually pulled it like literally this week. We were actually planning to launch last week, and then part of the reason we didn't is we pulled the, I'm on the wrong blog post. We pulled the debugger. And so if I actually, it's not official until I actually update on stream, right? You can see though I was testing earlier dev builds here. Now let's go stable. Come on, latest stable. There it is, 3814. So one thing you'll notice, in fact, this is different between the latest devs and the stable that we put out, is that the debugger is off again. So like, actually, in fact, you'll see right here, I've got the debugger and a couple other plugins I've got turned on here in this VM. But when I restart, the debugger is going to go away, if I did it right, because we've disabled it for the stable. We don't advertise it on the blog post. it's the same debugger that's been on dev for 2 months, and it really does work mostly fine. But we found one bug that made us hesitant to launch it and call it like stable and done. So we've shut it off. It still works honestly most of the time just fine. It's basically a race condition where LLDB, and like I said, we're still trying to figure out exactly the cause and make sure we've ironed out all of the iterations of it. But it would basically could cause either a hang or a crash. And so just given that, we just decided, no, we're not gonna do that. And it's still, without that, it's still like the biggest list of changes that we've ever had. Like it's still bonkers. Um, how much? Oh, you know what? I flushed the cache on the website before I pushed um, the new build. I did that order wrong. I should have updated the website and then flushed the Cloudflare cache. So I think some of the CSS actually that has been changed. I think that's actually changed. But it'll take a little bit longer to flush that CSS. But anyway, this is okay. So there's a whole lot of stuff, and one of the things I'd actually like to do is when we do a stable release, do like a quick video kind of summary of like what's new in 3.2. And so I'm going to probably turn my face cam off, I should say, and just kind of do an overview here. And I think chat is already off, right? Yeah, so I'm gonna leave chat off just for a second. And that way, when we go to make edits, we can pull out the just these changes and put together a little short like demo reel kind of for what's changed. So obviously, if you've been following for a while, you know that this was the Windows release. We're kind of backed off that language. We're just calling it 3.2. We didn't really call it the Windows release. Partly that's because like one feature didn't make it in that I wanted to be able to call it Windows, and partly just because we felt like there's just so much stuff we still want to do. Now that said, it is still a huge improvement on Windows. Like there's no question that the type libraries actually that made it out even into the previous release, plus these other very like Windows beneficial changes here that I'll talk about, make it definitely a huge. I was about to say the best release for Windows ever, just like Apple ever releases. Like it's the best iPhone ever, and I'm like, I would hope so. Like why would you ever release one worse than your previous gen? But but it is true that certainly Windows has improved the most right here. Hey, Amy, welcome. So if you do a lot of analysis of PE files, let us know, because I think this is really improving it a lot. So the enumeration changes are one of these things, so that do I have that test binary? I don't know if I have that in this VM. You can probably just simulate that just fine though. Oh no, I'm already running Benja. Why did I run another copy? Quit. Over here. It's already running. Okay. So so here was the deal with enumeration. Enumerations. Wait, do they work on constant values? I wonder about that. But the idea is that if you have type information with an enum, it will automatically apply the enum in more places in the IL, right? So before, like if we had like, this is a great example, this comparison, right? So like if I actually go into the enum and I make like enum, and I give it 1, 2, is this even valid syntax? Oops. Then if I apply this type here to this variable and I call it enum test whatever, you'll notice it actually pulls out the enum right there in the comparison. So that's one of the major improvements that landed. Is it used to be you could get an enum to like display pretty if you were here, right? So if you actually had, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of reflection. Actually, I've used it on, I switched away from it on my normal desktop only because I kept taking screenshots for documentation and product stuff and forgetting I was running reflection. And so it was mixing up the styles, and we tried to keep all of the the documentation consistent. And so I oftentimes will like not remember to change it back on my main driver. But I think I've been running reflection for a while here. Actually, is this reflection? No, this is Shatterdeep. This isn't even reflection. I think I was changing it around. Reflection actually is a little more similar, a little closer to the core one. Yeah, but Shatterdeep is another good one. So anyway, the yeah, so I think I gotta remember to do these like tight little things because every time I go on like a side, it makes the it makes it take longer to do the little video edit. All right, so what are enum test 2 3 ox2f, was that the other one? Is it equals? I forget. There we go. So like yeah, now I can actually, so if I say stircher takes an enum test arg2, right? So this feature here, this has been around for a while. That's not new. Oh yes, I'm not using reflection. I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, you've been around. You know the themes I use. So that's not new. That's been there a while. But what is new is its ability to show up in other things like variable assignments or comparisons. That's where you'll see enums now kind of come into play. So if we change this one to test enum test, that'll give you the enum display as well. So that combined with the Windows type library improvements that hit in 3.1, and actually the last time I was looking at, so I was looking at like Flare-on, one of the Flare-on binaries, and I noticed that like the message box A, the last parameter is actually an enum, and you just got like a message OK or something shown in Binja. And another tool that I will not name that I was using for comparison's sake in his challenges, I was side by side. I wanted to see what the experience is in both tools. Didn't actually have that as the enum. It just showed the constant value. So I thought that was kind of nice that our type library and the enum support were actually doing a better job than that tool, which I shall not name, mostly because I don't like mudslinging, but it made me feel happy to see that. So anyway, that's enum support. So what else we got? Yeah, there's a couple other examples there. PDB support. So Glenn, excellent. So Valgrind, what I will say, the thing that didn't land, there is one feature that did not, which is a UI that lets you like say this constant value here replaced with an enum, and it looks through all possible enums to find any that would match that constant value and pull it out. That's the only thing that's not in yet. So this issue is still not in. And so that's part of, like I said, that's part of the reason why we're not calling this the Windows release. Because I think I really wanted this one to be in to call it Windows. But I would say this impact high is not as true anymore because again, you actually don't need this most of the time. If you just have all the types and enums in your types, you're going to get that, right? You can get it in your decompilation. You can get the output you want. We just don't have the UI to let you look it up the way that we want to, and that'll come. It's gonna be slated for 3.3. So, but we just wanted to get it right. So, the desktop environment I'm using is what is the name of it? So it's an Ubuntu release called Regolith. It's actually just using. So Regolith is like the distro that just takes Ubuntu and then shoves on. So i3, yeah, i3 is the actual window manager, but it's still GNOME and like all the other stuff. So I wanted something as close to standard Ubuntu, but with a tiling window manager. Partly I wanted the tiling window manager just because it gets out of the way. So when I'm streaming, I want less like window Chrome and full screen stuff. It's funny, my daily drive is not actually I usually use Mac on my main machine, and I've looked at different tiling window managers on Mac, and I never gotten into it. But anyway, yep, that's what I live there. I am not gonna name the Stolas. I am neither confirming nor denying if you are correct. But other people could easily try it themselves. I did give enough information about that. But yeah, no, like I said, it's mostly a mudslinging thing because there's plenty of things that other tools do. Some other tools do better. Some tools I would say are a strict subset of features, but there's other things that different tools do better. Y'all can go check out Dogbolt and see for yourself. Okay, so what else we got as a new? There's Regolith, the enum one's there. That's the old blog post. Don't get confused by that. This is the full list. Yeah, full list of features. Can you actually? Oh, you know what you can do? You can say is an issue is closed and label colon. Actually, it's easier to do this in the UI because I can never remember the quoting. If you go to, not label, milestone. So if I select milestone from here and then closed. I don't know why this one shows 236. Oh, pull requests. Pull requests show up in the 240 if you actually just view the milestone. So, oh, I know, I was going to sort by thumbs up. So if you were curious, lots of like highly voted thumbs up things. In fact, of the ones that remain, if we just look at the open issues, there's a couple that are up here in like this kind of high count list, like over a dozen or whatever. But we've taken a pretty big bite out of a lot of the high vote count ones with that. So these are all, and actually that's the other thing too. It's cool to watch these other high vote ones. Look how many are already labeled for 3.3, and even CallGraphs. There's like several plugins that do that. Honestly, IL emulator, we do still keep thinking about it every now and then. But like, look at all this. Most of the rest of these are already on deck, or at least planned for 3.3. So that should get us a ton of important features. Hopefully, we'll see. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a kind of reevaluation of the release. I've kind of been arguing that we should do a release just focused on tons and tons of types and type libraries and make the type workflow better. And maybe slotting that in between the embedded release, maybe pushing that release back out. And then taking some of these things that are 3.3 and still shipping them, but some of them we'd push back. But we'll see. That's something we're gonna figure out later. Oh yeah, yep. You can set the enums via the API, and it's just types. You're just setting the type, and it will apply it for you automatically. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly, Stolas. Like I think this is something we should focus on. Like the types have gotten a lot better, but the type workflows still need to be better. Like the process of creating your own types, creating your own signatures, managing them, I think that can improve. And so that's something that's kind of been on my mind that I want to take a look at. But there I go, getting distracted again. Let's get back to the list of features. We're gonna be here all night if I do this that slowly. So okay, PDB support. PDB support is super nice because there, PDB RS. So Glenn worked on using a Rust library called PDB -R. Well, the actual library is PDB RS, whatever. It's just PDB. That is fairly well updated, has lots of nice features, and if you've been watching for a while, we've been slowly rewriting more. Yeah, exactly. Kernel types that's one of those on the list. That's also one of the reasons that this is not the Windows release anymore, that we didn't officially go with that branding on this launch, because I do think we need Windows kernel types too for that. So the PDB support is much better. This is like really actively maintained. We've already submitted one PR to it with a couple more bug fixes planned. It is nice when you're able to leverage an open source project that's active. We can contribute back to it. It is getting updates from other people. I think even including there's some Microsoft folks that might be actually committing code to it, which is nice. And of course, it continues our trend of replacing more and more types with Rust, or more of our components with Rust. So, and then you'll notice we've got this slider kind of thing that we're starting to use a lot more. And so you can actually see the before and after really easy of what it looks like. And this particular binary is a game. I'm not going to go into the details beyond that. Try not to like out if we have commercial software we're showing off, we try not to make a big deal about it. But the difference between the before and after with and without the PDB it's pretty big, right? And we had a PDB before, we had a PDB parser before. It just didn't get a whole lot of types and a whole lot of I don't know the specific bugs that we kind of ran across, but there were just more and more problems. And so the new PDB support is really, really good. And of course, Glenn also worked on the Clang type parser, which we shipped on the last stable, but it was not enabled by default. There was a couple of rough edges. There was a few things it couldn't do, and now it is like just the default. So as I was, earlier showing, adding this enum, I can even, I could do things like struct struct. Wow, I can't type today. Struct. Hey, my struct char whatever my struct, right? Like this is this the syntax? It's just like that's a syntax we used to not support, where you had the name at the end, the beginning, and so that was why a lot of times you go go to import some header, and it wouldn't import because we were using our own internal parser before, or part of SCC, the compiler that's built in. So it's just significantly more forgiving, has a lot of features, and Glenn extended it, to support a lot of syntax things that are unique to us, calling conventions. I think platforms. I feel they're like things that you can kind of annotate with it that will now round trip, including a few that we'll talk about here a little bit later. So the fact that he did both the PDB and that is he was really able to kind of like test the types, test the loading of the things from PDB, putting them through kind of both of them. So no point of entry 4 yet, not yet. That's a good. This was a PE, I believe. Let me check. I think I still have that binary. No, I'm pretty positive it was a PE. Yeah, this was. Yes, this is an executable file. This one right here. So it just obviously it's a PDB support. So I guess technically, can you have a PDB with an L file? I don't think you can. I know you can have dwarf in both PE files and ELF files, but I don't think the opposite is true. I don't think you can have a PDB for ELF that I know of anyway. So this is definitely a PE. This one here. You may have also been talking about something else a little slow. Is WHRT also a regular commentator? That's a good question. I don't know if it is. So let's try it. It doesn't, but I don't know if that's because, like, you can specify Clang arguments, and if you specify like Windows paths, oh, actually, I think I have that plugin installed. No, that's the type inspection plugin. That's not the one I wanted. There's another like dev plugin for like loading headers and stuff. Oops. Also, in case you didn't notice, by the way, I just hit like 1 there. You can also hit 2, 3, 4. You can hit these different hotkeys to change the number of that width. And notice once I made it bigger, then the struct itself was larger. So actually, this is a great example of where the kind of the changes that are really nice. So this padding syntax is round trippable, right? So I can actually just update this again, and it doesn't break. Whereas before, we didn't have a way to represent this kind of thing. And so now we've extended the Clang syntax so that we can. And we can actually just get rid of it. I want to get rid of that padding, and it should shrink that one back down, I think, right? Yeah, but you can also just specify padding yourself. So like if I make this 8 and then 1, it'll by default it'll pad it. But I could have just instead like hit this and actually added my own padding amount here, right? Numlock is not on. So you can add padding via the type parser, which is super nice. Fair enough. Fair enough, Fox. Oh, did I call something this? No, I missed that. Yeah, that was maybe not a good idea for a name, was it? It is poorly named. Unintended. Okay, so tons of improvements for the PDB support. The other thing I want to mention, and this is I think perhaps the most interesting. Let's actually go find. Do I have? Do I have an NTDL sitting around? I do in my download folder. Okay, let's go open up. I think that one's got a PDB, right? And I don't have a PDB. Okay, so now, did you notice that? You probably missed it already. It already. This is the best part about it. Before, when you use the old PDB parser, it would open up the file, analyze the whole file, and then afterwards you'd be like plugins, PDB, you'd go through the whole menu and then you trigger it, and it would try to find the PDB locally. It would go look online for the if there was like a Microsoft symbol server, And it had a little bit of support for some of the like the funkier ways that you can actually like redirect environment variables with multiple paths, and there's a bunch of other stuff like that Microsoft debugging APIs will use to like store symbol server or to store symbol server information. And but that was it. The new method uses the new set of debug info APIs, and they were designed for exactly this situation. They were designed for Dwarf, for PDB, situations where you've got debugging information and you don't want to trigger analysis, actually, right? So like, look, that was so much faster. Okay, I need to show the difference of that. Let me go see if I have a stable. Do I have another? Okay, actually, do I have enough room? Because I was running low on space earlier. It's a little tight. Sudo apt auto purge. Isn't that the? I'm trying to remember the name. Yeah, that'll work. See how much room that clears up. I want to copy this version of Binary Ninja. There we go. All right. All right. So I'm going to rerun this and downgrade it. And I want to let this one downgrade itself to the previous stable because I want to show. No, don't. I mean, it won't do anything. That's cool. But I'm going to show the difference in those workflows because I think that's super nice. And the fact that that's going to also be kind of the platform on which other new stuff. Oh, auto remove. So auto purge did something, which is funny. This is going to restart here in a second. Let's background it. Okay. Thank you. Sudo apt auto remove, or does it just make those synonyms? Did I type auto remove? No, I typed auto purge. Apparently they're synonym because that worked too. That's cool. Welcome. Hey Ryan, how you doing? We are celebrating 3.2. I only have a not adult beverage because I'm driving home, and then I will have an adult beverage. It's been a very long few weeks. Oh, yeah, if you didn't know, I also last week, instead of streaming here, I was streaming for the Hackasat final event. I guess it was Sunday was the final event, but on Saturday we were streaming. So if you didn't yet watch that, hackasat.com. That was a there you go. You can go watch all the old broadcasts. That was my last week. It was fun, but also very busy. And then I came back and we did a release. So saving a single slice. I mean, if we had cake, I would definitely be eating it. That's for sure. No cake right now. All right. So this is stable, right? Yes. So this or the previous stable. I keep saying stable. This is all right. So now, if I open a TDLL, it's going to just take way longer, and you'll notice it doesn't have debug information for all this stuff because it didn't load the PDB. And like you could, the sort of right way to do this before would have been hold control, open with options. I didn't hold control. I hit some other hotkey. There's a control shift, yeah. And then you would tell it, oh, do basic analysis. You would tell it basically not to scan, minimize the files, and then you would trigger tools, plugins, PDB, load PDB, and then it would go find the stuff, and then the analysis would go through. Anyway, now you just open the file. You just do that, and it's just so much faster. It's so much better. It's literally more accurate and actually faster. So that workflow is significantly improved, and you can see all those symbols. You can see all the types that we pulled out of that PDB. Lots more information. Yeah, so that is great success. All right, sorry, I've been watching some Minecraft videos lately. So curious if anybody recognizes that streamer's catchphrase. Hey Ricardo. What will increase? There's no plan. So, oh, the price increase is for, yeah, it's for commercial. So, thank you for reminding me. The price increases. Oh no. Oh wait, that's okay. Renewals. I thought there was a typo there for a second. Right. This is if you are a commercial license user, the purchase price is going to 1,500, and the renewal price is 750. So current renewal price is 600 as of I guess Tuesday, right? Because the 31st is Monday. I'm bad with dates. Um, sure. Give me a calendar. October 31st is a Monday, right? So Monday of next week is the last time you can buy Binary Ninja for 1,200 for commercial and renew for 600. Now, the trick is if you want to renew early, you don't have to wait until your license is about to lose support. If you want to renew early, you can go here at any time, as long as you're not past your support expiring. Put in your serial number, which I will not do on stream because otherwise you could just use my free streaming license, and it would just show you your expiration and then the cost, and you can do it multiple times. So it would be separate transactions, which could be mildly annoying, but if you wanted to do multiple years up front, you can. We can also send you an invoice with custom years, but I would not recommend that because there's only like one business day left. So if you have a commercial license, personal stays exactly the same, right? Yep, exactly. So we intentionally did not change the non-commercial rate. Doesn't change at all. And the student discount is still 75%, so it will be 75% off the new price for commercial, but it will also still be 75% off the same old price of non-commercial, which again, not changing. Yep. Which is a little weird because we actually just recently added a feature to non-commercial that used to be only commercial, so we've kind of made that one better and better. But I mean, honestly, the biggest difference, there's really only two differences. One is just commercial rights, whether you're legally allowed to use it for commercial purposes. We just want to let people who are hobbyists have it for a much cheaper price than we think it's really worth, just as a, you're welcome kind of thing. And then of course, headless is the other big technical feature. We would like to add some more features as well. So you may start seeing some other things that show up only in commercial, but generally we err on the side of making things available. So, all right, thank you for reminding me of that. And I freaked out for a second when I saw that 749. I was thinking we had something else wrong, but yeah, that's just the new renewal rate. So, and of course you don't have to renew too. If you choose not to renew, you just don't get any of these great updates that we're showing off. So that's, if you don't renew, you don't get that. But otherwise, Sidekick is one of those things that we were considering. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're talking about being a commercial only thing. All right, so improved enums, PDB support, much better. Oh, control flow guard. So control flow guard handling, really it used to be like if you open any binary with control flow guard, the decompilation before was really kind of opaque. You would get like this, like you could, if you were manually reversing, you would look at that and you'd be like, okay, well, I guess this is what's being, no, that's not even what's being called, is it? No, it is, yeah. So this is the function being called, and then, but like you can't tell that from here. You just had to kind of know that, because the decompilation just didn't come out right because of the way that it was being validated. The analysis has improved now, and it was a change specifically made so that now it looks like this, which you can see it other than this like weird opaque bit there. You can actually see it's basically just checking if the pointer exists, and if it doesn't, it's going to set it to that thing, and then it's going to call. So that's a lot clearer that you're calling RTL query registry values on this particular sample. You can do even one better than that. So I wrote up like just this little snippet here while I was writing the blog post, to show that like, oh, using our user informed data flow, you can actually tell Binary Ninja every time, because it turns out this get system routine address is the API, at least in the binary I was looking at, that it was querying to check before it like called through that. And so you could just say it like, this is always going to return 0. You would just hard code this value here is just 0. Actually, the other way is normally you could just patch it too, but this is actually an import, I think, or called through like an import step. So I don't think you could have just patched it directly. And so in this case, I literally just wrote 5 lines And all it does is find all the cross-references to that, find the variable that it wrote, in this case, the return value there, and set it to a user variable, user informed data flow. The actual API is set user var value. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. And it would just basically tell the decompilation that, oh, no, this thing always returns 0. And then literally the whole thing just becomes that. Like, it just collapses right down and shows you exactly that it's a call to that function. So yeah, user-informed data flow is super nifty. Yeah, yep. It's still in development underway, and like we're planning actually to launch it at some point soon as a something. We're still working on the exact details of it, but it's coming along and quite usable. So hopefully we can get it in people's hands soon. Okay, demangler. The demangler has been just a number of bug fixes. You can see some issues associated with that. And so there's, again, part of all those improvements for Windows. The PDB, the demangling, the better enum support, and enum, PDB, oh, and the control flow guard, right, yeah. And the making the control flow guard calls much more readable. So that was the Windows specific things. And now it's just some of the general decompiler things. So this I'm not going to go into too much detail now, because there's just a lot, and Ryan, who worked on this feature, gave me a lot of great info and did most of the write-up himself. So this is really all just his stuff. And oh, sorry, no, we're on variable merging and splitting. This one is not Ryan's. This is actually a feature Rusty worked on. This is where the decompiler is treating variables as separate when you know they're actually the same, or vice versa, right? And you want to improve it. These were, I think, the highest rated thumbs up things, along with that enum UI, just in overall, the entire list of open issues and features. And so Rusty had been working on this stable, and there's a nice UI. So like, let's demo real quick. At least we'll pull it up. Probably don't know if I want to do an NTDLL. Let's find. Oh, you know what? Do I have? I don't know if I have that file. I bet I have it here. I could copy it over. Let me see. I can actually pull up the. Do I have it? No, I don't have it on that box. I can put it there. Let's do that. Okay, and then from here, actually, I think I can go straight in. I do this? No. What's the host? Oh, Streambox. No, I have to do it from inside the VM. All right. Let's see if that works. All right. Okay, cool. So now let's open Whopper. I think it's an old CTF challenge, actually. All right, so oh yeah, this is the one that was actually for merging. Okay, so this one, there we go. We can see in the high level, I should switch these around. Let's make this one high and this one medium. Just in the main loop here, there's this kind of pattern here. Actually, let's go look at the disassembly. That's probably more interesting. So we've basically got this comparison, and it is using separate stack or data, yeah, global data variables with the strings. Okay, but then it's just using EAX, and then where is it putting? Yeah, and it's reloading EAX. Now, this is a pattern that when the decompiler does it elsewhere, you don't know that it's necessarily using the same value or not. Like, is that supposed to be the same thing or a new usage? Because register reuse, right? That happens all the time. The register allocator just reuses a variable. And so it's impossible to perfectly know if it's the same or a different one. So right now, Binary Ninja has defaulted to treating these as separate variables. So you'll see this EAX25, EAX26, EAX28, 29. But with the new feature, you can actually say, no, these are all the same. So you can hit equals, which I think is the IDA key as well. Or you can choose the menu. And then you could actually come down and say, okay, EAX25, 26. And actually, I'll give you a hint. The nice thing is right here, you can look at the confidence. And you can see these purple ones are ones that it thinks are integers because the pattern they're used in, they get the return value from the stir compare. And so it's more confident in that. And so in this case, it's kind of like a cheaty way to just, well, it's probably the same code pattern. And so you can do it by hand and look at them and verify that they're all the same use cases. Or you can just do that. And then you could say result, right? So it makes that decompilation a little bit cleaner right there, right? Being able to like just merge all of those. And in this particular case, right? See, this is actually, I did one too many, right? Because I merged something that might be actually supposed to be different because it's doing two comparisons. Or, yeah, so that may have been different. I'm curious what the actual source looked like for this particular one. Oh, Amy's like, I remember this. No, Fox, not now. No, Crazy Bob, not today. And by the way, Daniel, sorry, I think I missed a question from you earlier. I did see that. I was kind of on a roll. So for people that don't know, there is a snippet. Actually, the easiest way to get to it is if you're running Binary Ninja and you use the snippet editor. There's this update example snippets, and if you run that, it will download a whole bunch of little bits of Python code that are just various things that I've kind of gathered over the years to just common patterns of people, things that people might want to use. And they have lived for up until now in here. The question of when does that stuff become the core analysis? If it's something we implement in snippets, it's because we don't think it is generically something that should be done all the time for all analyses, for whatever reason. But they're just useful things that people might want to do after the fact. Like that one earlier where I hard code the value of that API. I don't actually know what that API does, and if it's a good idea to always hardcode that to 0, it strikes me as probably not wise, or maybe binary is where it doesn't, and then you're gonna hide something from the reverser that they need to see. So that's a good example where that one probably will never ship as a default behavior. But I don't know, maybe if we actually looked into it a little more, we'd find a good reason that we would do that. A related thing though, and I'll skip around a little bit, is docs.binary.ninja just got a makeover. So if you haven't seen this yet, if you've been using dev and you happen to use the offline docs, like if you went to the help menu and did user guide, you would have gotten this for the past couple weeks. But you'll notice that there is a developer guide, there's a user manual, there's a getting started guide. So we're kind of separating out the stuff also used to just all be in the getting started guide. And now there's like an actual getting started guide that's very concise, tells you some of the basics. And then there's a user manual with a bunch of table of contents. That's a lot of the bigger stuff. And then these other subsections are over here too, like totally separate files and have more details on each of these topics. Like in settings, for example, I split out into this separate, whole separate file. Although I kind of don't like how the width of it is. So we probably need to play with the layout on that one. But the related question, the reason that I came here and brought this up early is that the developer guide now has a cookbook. And so this is something where we want to introduce people to Binary Ninja concepts like we've done with snippets, but actually as a part of the documentation. So it's a little bit of a small thing, and actually references, you'll notice it links to the GIS there as well. Oh, it's popcorn. Yes, thank you. Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, Glenn, I do. Look at that. That's perfect for a release. That's a good one. Yeah, exactly, Daniel. Confidence levels, or maybe it's a performance thing. Maybe it's a really slow thing to do on a big binary, but you can do it in a smaller one. Yeah, a couple of reasons. All right, so I should have been paying more attention to chat. I could have had popcorn earlier. I do like popcorn. All right. I'm supposed to be dieting, but I'm not doing it very well. There's cheddar, white cheddar on that popcorn too. So that's merging. That's the docs. Couple of improvements there. All right, so splitting variables is the same kind of thing, right? In fact, it's in reverse. This one's nice because you can reproduce this yourselves. Oh, was there one question I missed back there? No, I think we got it all right. Oh yeah, yeah. Yes. The cookbook, it's been suggested for years, and we kind of were like, well, snippets is kind of like that, but we really are trying to improve the documentation. So I think people are gonna, I think that'll be helpful. And I'll probably start moving some things from snippets into the cookbook too, especially where they explain useful concepts. So the other side of things is that let's compile. This is 32-bit. I think this is 32-bit. Yeah, almost 16-bit. No, I get ECX. Okay, so here's a random piece of assembly. 32-bit x86. This is some piece of code just that Rusty was kind of testing where it's just like a stir copy essentially, right? Like, or a mem move or whatever, where it's just an unrolled loop of it's copying over a byte at a time. And if I right now, if I ask Binary Ninja to decompile this for me, and I go to high level, I am gonna get something that's like, well, yeah, like you're not wrong, right? It's not wrong, but like this could be way better. And the way you can make that way better is you can actually use the command palette and it's merge variable, or not merge variable, split variables. We can actually say this is not like split variable at definition, right? So let's split this EDX separately. And let's do this one separately. And basically we can teach it to split these up, these variable uses. Now all of a sudden it knows that it's just going to get a single byte at each time, and it's going to like get them all as a one-liner, right? Well, yeah, I don't have to do it all by hand. You can see what essentially turns it into. It's just going to show you how it's going to write each one of those at a time. So notice that one had a warning on it. That's one where like we're less confident that people should be doing a lot. And so that one's always going to kind of ask you when you do it, if you want to. And you should be a little more careful with that one than the merging can generally be a little more safe. And also you get hints like the type sizes information. Yeah, you can already do calling conventions on a function call. In fact, so you can hit find a function. Actually, go find one, and you can already just do under fast call, and if it's valid for that platform, and I type it right, you can do it. But the other way you can do that is with the edit function properties dialog. So you can change the calling convention right here. So you can see what are available calling conventions currently for the architecture. This is x86, x64, so I don't have a lot of choices, right? That's why I can't choose fast call. But you'll be able to change calling convention in the UI there, or yes, you can also do that in the type system. Okay, so here's one that I'm so glad Ryan wrote the explanation for, because I learned a lot reading it and editing it. This is a concept that is possible in IDA, and I think Ghidra has it on dev. They don't have it in any of their actual releases yet. But it's called shifted pointers or relative pointers. IDA calls them shifted pointers. I think Ghidra calls them relative pointers. We call them offset pointers. There's, the idea is that sometimes you want to save something not as an exact pointer, but as like a relative pointer. You want to say this is a pointer to this structure and then this offset. I don't actually want to point to the direct thing that was there. I just care about its relationship to the base, right? Yeah, tagging information. Yeah, you would be able to do it as a shifted pointer. So there's again, this is something I've had to learn about. This has not been something that I've personally run into, but that's why I say I'm not the best reverser in the company. I don't like the syntax on this, and we should fix that. I don't think that's how parentheses work with punctuation. Anyway, But this is a really good explanation and write-up. I'm just going to skip it for now. This is a super long blog post, y'all. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Y'all should go check it out. But you can see here briefly, for example, that this particular variable has this offset type. So the type information says, I know it's at this offset from this base structure. And so that information lets you do some much nicer things with analysis. And this explanation I think is really clear because it says, look, if I've got this and I see an access of like this type, then if I have this struct and I have an access of 8 bytes at the beginning, I know it's accessing a member, easy. But what if it accesses a single byte there? Well, maybe now I don't know. Maybe this type is wrong. But maybe I want to say that information to know that it's only accessing a single byte, or maybe it's 8 bytes in, it's accessing a single byte. So read that write up, and then go ask Ryan RSS on the public Slack if you've got any questions, because he's one of the folks that spends a lot of time deep in NRE tooling, and was also the one who implemented this. So it's a really good explanation. And then he also implemented the split loads and stores. Which is the idea that when you've got like obviously on some architectures you do a load that you can't do like a 32-bit load, so you load the upper and load lower kind of thing. Some of those we can solve just via lifting, but when you're talking about like structures and loading things separately there, it can impact the analysis. And so you can see here in, just as a simple sample of one binary where the split load looks like it's doing something that's not, and then the correct decompilation out basically lets you auto improve the analysis. In fact, speaking of auto improve, I forgot to mention this. One of the cool things about our implementation of these offset pointers is that it's not just a thing that you can specify and you can use in your analysis to fix something up, although you can, but it actually, our analysis got a lot more accurate. And there's a lot of things. In fact, I thought, was it this one? Or was there a different one? Yeah, I think I think it's this image here where if you do the before and after with the previous stable, the fact that we can track these offset pointers lets Binary Ninja sort of resolve types more accurately. So it's able to say, well, this could either be a direct access of a thing here, or it could be an access of like the struct plus the base plus an offset. And so I'm going to keep track of both of those things, and then we'll resolve it later based on the usage. Is really powerful. So it actually improves the analysis, which is part of that explanation up above. So check that out. Split loads and stores. Compilers do, optimizations basically. Oh, and there's 3 settings. I actually haven't looked into that as much too, but you can actually change how the analysis will treat these types of loads and stores. And so here's an example where, this one here in particular, you can see like if we take these unknown bytes and we just throw a random thing in the middle of it, what used to be, at the very beginning here, we've got no access there. All of a sudden, it properly gets, actually, no, that field is being copied too. So that's loads and stores. Like I said, that's something you got to ask. Ryan about. He's definitely the more knowledgeable one. Objective-C is. Well, I probably shouldn't be stuffing my mouth as I talk if we're gonna edit this out. So the Objective-C support was a plugin originally written by John after he was an intern. He had gone back to school, but then we had already been working on some other Objective-C support internally, and so this has basically been made first class. So it's a built-in feature now. However, it's not on by default. So if you want to analyze Objective-C, I think I've shown it off on stream. You basically have to check this checkbox and change this drop down when you open an Objective-C file. You won't have to do that. I mean, much like how with PDBs now, debug info automatically applies the information at load time and can recognize when you need to and when you don't. Workflows are going to be getting the same treatment. They're going to have the ability to select themselves and know when they should run and when they shouldn't run automatically. So you can have a bunch of them, and then they'll sort of self-select. And so an Objective-C one will say, oh, hey, I can handle Objective-C files. Load me when you do that. Oh, hey, I can handle Golang. Let me parse out not just the debug information, but actually change how the IL works, right? So a debug info API can say, hey, I'm going to parse the Golang metadata and just give you type information. But a workflow can do way more. It can actually rewrite the IL. And so that's what the Objective-C does. Oops. Oh, I mouse went over there. So that's what the Objective-C plugin does. And so it not only will add type information, right? You can see all the types and the names come on the left. But you can also see how this message send call actually turns into a real, virtual method. So it's actually calling the thing that it's, the method on whatever the class was that is visible because it's literally rewriting the IL. So that's nice, and that's, like I said, it's now shipped by default. You still have to kind of enable it per file or turn it on when you need it, but it's there. This one was originally, the segments and sections UI was originally intended for the next release, essentially the embedded release, but Josh had a little bit of spare time and was kind of tinkering with it and was like, hey, I think I could throw together a little prototype here. And then we, of course, gave him a bunch of feedback and made him change things and, made him regret trying to sneak ahead, I think, because he got a lot of comments. But it's a great useful feature if you do like any kind of, custom work where you want to change sections or segment permissions. It's nice to have a UI for that now. So, and there's the little, look, I even made the little icon, which I'm sure will get swapped out for a real icon at some point, but it's a map. You guys see that? It's a map. All right, talked about Clang. Licenses types, we have new licenses. Showed the docs. Thanks to everybody that submitted PRs this last stable. We're trying to get better about remembering to shout out everybody that contributes to the open source components. We appreciate it. And then like a gajillion other things that I am definitely not going to get into. Certainly not today. So that is kind of the overview of the major stuff. Oh, and like I said, debugger was disabled by default, but you can easily go back and re-enable it. So if you've been, in fact, we would love it. We encourage it because in fact, if you're on dev, we're probably going to turn it right back onto dev because we want the debugger to be tested. And even though it has been on by default for, I think, about 2 months now, not everyone has been using it, I think, or at least we're just pushing things in weird ways. And so we were able to trigger the bugs that we did. But we would love for more people to try the debugger. It really is coming along. Even as we were kind of testing it, Rusty made a comment the other day, like, oh man, this can really see the potential of this now. We're actually really, the workflow, little stuff, even like, for example, let's just open BenOS. Little stuff where in the last week we changed it so that the play, pause, run button are it used to be more buttons up here and they've been consolidated. These icons, the old one used to be the wrong color, and it's getting a lot more smooth in terms of the UI and the workflow, and just kind of using it during testing. We were much happier with the results of it and how easy it was to work with. So it is definitely an improvement over the Python. Is it there? There's a way to oh, there we go. You can edit the value by hitting enter. Yeah, so it's definitely something we'd love more feedback. You see list of modules. Sorry, I think I just saw a question from Daniel. Yes, so the memory segmentation does impact analysis. Yeah, that's a good point. I talk about that in the blog. But if you change, for example, the permissions, so you take something that's rewrite and you... Oh, it's right. I don't think you can change permissions on a segment if it was open as a part of an ELF or PE or Mach-O for some reason in the UI. I don't remember the details, but I think you can do it on a... So if we take data as writable, and so data flow analysis won't propagate through it. So this is a great example. This value is 1 currently, but if I actually go look at where it's used, Finder Ninja does not assume that value is 1 right here. Whereas I have 2 options. I can say either I can make it under const, and then when it's used, if I go back to the, in fact, you notice it literally the preview got folded into the exit call, an exit of 1, right? And we don't really want to do that because in this case, that probably is not meant to just be a global one. It's just the default is an exit 1. And then if it's being written there, the return code is being written by other things. And so I want to change that back off to not have it be const. And now we'll see, there we go. You can see it actually just loading that pointer the way that it should. But in general, if you want to do that, you can do it on a per variable basis, or if I want to say all of data, has a different permissions, I can say it's read-only, right? Read-only data will actually change the way that that analysis goes, just like changing it to constant too. So you can change that in that memory map as well. So good question on that. Ricardo, glad to hear it. Yeah, please test it out. Like I said, we ran into a bug, and it was kind of annoying, which is why we didn't ship it. But it's not super easy to trigger. It was only some platforms, and depending on like the performance of the machine, and you had to like click play and then single step as fast as you could immediately afterwards. It was a little bit of a race condition. In normal usage, if you're just kind of casually using it, I think it would be not super easy to come across, but we wanted to err on the side of caution. So it's not enabled by default, and we're not like advertising it in the blog. We actually had the whole write-up kind of already written on it and we're ready to ship it, but we're going to hold off on that. So, but please, yeah, please use it on dev. If you just switch over to dev in the next couple of days, it'll be turned on, or you can just go to your settings and you can enable it. So data is not read-only, apparently, if that was your question, Joe. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. This here is not read-only. It is in segments. For some, it's like segments are, unless you make a new one. I think if you make a new one, you can change it. But like, I don't know the details. I actually just noticed this when we're doing testing this week, that you can't change permissions on segments, but sections you can always change. So yeah, you can take any of these sections and you can change it, and that will change your analysis. Yeah, see, this is why we need documentation. So let's actually check this. I'm going to use this is a really good test case, because I think the user manual, does it talk about, I don't know that it does. Oh, wait, did I go past it? Hold on. Cross-references pane. Actually, hold on, is it called memory map? Memory. Oh, we do, okay, memory map. No, that's on us. That is definitely our fault. Okay, Glenn, if you're still watching, make a note. Let me pull up my phone and put this in my stream notes. Wait, did I go to this? Okay, there we go. Memory map docs don't describe editing and what can and can't be changed. Yeah, that's a documentation fail. Although maybe there's more we could do to the UI as well too, to kind of hint that they're editable. And like the debugger, you can just hit enter to change something. I wonder if, I don't know what the best UI to do that is. Try not to like clutter everything up with icons everywhere, but that might hint people. I say this because I was using Geeter today with the plugin manager trying to get some Java thing to run, and just like hovering over every single icon until I could find out what each one does, and then hoping what it claimed to do worked. But yep, context menu. We're trying to be a little more consistent about putting useful stuff on the context menu, even for these panes. So you should see there actually are a fair amount of context menu items in these UIs. I don't know if these have any. Yeah, I guess there's one there. Oh, creating a stack variable. Yeah, so there should be good context menus there. Cool. But yeah, we definitely. Oh, also, CSS on find is gross. I missed that when I did the theming of this one. Making a note of that too. I'm taking a week off though. Maybe not a week. I'm taking a couple days next week, I think. It's been busy. I'm looking forward to sleeping, I think mostly tonight. It's busted. Okay. Well, that's another good one I found. All right. Cool. Well, yeah, so I think that's like just the highlights, right, of oh, and the memory map, one other comment too. The actual UI for it, like we're not real happy with like the highlighting and the spacing, and there's a couple like, is that because it's in that? That's nice though. Does it do that? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's what the highlighting is. It's the sections that are in that segment and vice versa. That's nice. I just don't like the way it looks. Yeah, that's cool. So you can easily see which, although if they're sorted by start and end, wouldn't you expect them to kind of be lined up? Yeah, they're just not sorted by start on the sections by default. They're sorted by name, I think. That does it. Interesting. That's funny. I literally didn't know that that's what the highlighting was, but it kind of makes sense now. That's a nice feature. I just don't know the best way to indicate that, but that's cool. Um, yeah, now that it's sorted, you can see them all. Wait, it's way more obvious, I think. But yeah, so we have some probably tweaks to the UI that are coming up, but no, that's not bad. But yeah, any questions from y'all? Anything you're curious about? Let me go through the notes. I'm gonna find. There's a couple of gems that are like buried in the details one. I don't have at one point I did like a contest where I was like, if you got this far in the release notes, email me and get a T-shirt or something. We actually had a lot of people who read every line here. I'm gonna see if I'll pick one of my favorite sort of minor changes that only lives down here. Oh yeah, the new magic variables. Those are great. Yeah, so all of the like, the current whatever and here, all those, there's so many new ones. That's a really nice feature actually, because that makes just scripting so pleasant. Yeah, so like current is it current IL instruction, I think? Oh, index. Yeah, index or instruction, right? So like, let's see. Let's go find a function, grab this. So I'm in high level IL on that if. Like, oh, look at that, right? You used to have to like turn on show the index or whatever, and then do current HLIL bracket 5 or whatever, whatever number it was. That's a nice one. Yeah, whole bunch of those. I think I've showed that one before on stream, but that's probably one of my favorites. Run script is useful. Restart and reopen, also super nice. Just a ton of other stuff that are really nice quality of life improvements. Let's see. I hope my popcorn chewing is not too loud. It's good popcorn though, even though it's from a bag. Yeah, so many. We missed a few. We try to usually pull out. Oh, I guess this is different. So this is not the feature, but this is specifically the API for that feature. Although it doesn't describe the API, I probably should link to the API docs on that one. And we don't even link to all these issues, but oh, and then yeah, I don't know if I showed it, but the C++ docs, like I mentioned, not only have this theme, Cat really has fixed these a lot, and so if you've struggled with like the awful C++ documentation before, like I've got a UI action, what can I do with that? They are significantly better. And yeah, she's like actually like added documentation for a lot of these things, so she's put a ton of good work into that. So C++ docs went from being really kind of left over and janky to very, very good. So that's a ton of work, and that was really nice. So yeah. Oh, Eric, is that for the docs? Is that the nice part, or is it the magic variables? I don't know. When I saw I may have seen your comment earlier, but yeah, like go through the rest of the changelog and check out, because there's like these little tidbits in there. There was a couple. There was another one that I was reading, and when I read the list, I was like, I had no idea we did. There was like several things that I literally didn't know existed. I don't remember what they were now. They were probably up in like UI. I had kind of forgotten about run script. Run script is really nice. The magic variables are great. I remember the zoom stuff. Oh, copy strings. That's a little one that like I didn't know about until I read the changes. But if you're in the strings view, strings, you can now right click and choose copy. And and also change some of the settings on what is shown, which again are kind of duplicated up here. So that those at least you can get hints on. But yeah, a couple of new little things there, and just a lot of nice little stuff like that. Yeah, magic variables, right? And if you have ones that we've missed, let us know. So cool, awesome. All right, well, I am exhausted. It has been a very long week. I didn't have my face cam there. That's fine. I haven't shaved, like I said, in several days. I'm probably gonna close up the stream a little bit earlier. In general, I'm up for doing some longer streams, and I still owe y'all an office tour. I'll put you on a steady cam or something to walk around the office later. But for now, I think I'm gonna go get caught up. Enjoy 3.2. Definitely let us know if you have any feedback. If you're on dev, you're like, it's the same thing I've been using for weeks. So, but I know a lot of people like to stick with stables, and so hopefully they enjoy it. And yeah, no, Daniel, please, questions are great. Happy with the questions. But it was good to see everybody, and we'll catch you. I don't know if it'll be next week or the week after, because I was originally, yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm gonna try to stream more often. So we'll see you. Take care.